Well, the Boca Grande Pass, this is the very fishery that started sport fishing in America. It's a phenomenon that is unlike anywhere else.
It's a phenomenon, just everywhere. Everywhere you can look, as far as the eye can see, you can see these fish eating these crabs. It's a social spot for these tarpon that they want to eat freely and swim freely, but it's getting harder and harder and harder for them to do that anymore. And that's what I was saying, that the disruptive style of fishing that is being practiced today. I want it to be known that it's not just, like I said, it's not that we're just a bunch of angry, upset fishing guides that want something to get out of our fishing hole. It's not it. It's got to be everyone's cooperation here to get something done about this fishery. If we don't do something somewhere, somehow, at some point soon, those fish are not going to come. It's going to be a Port Aransas. They're not going to come. The Mayaca River and the Peace River flow into the harbor and then flow out, funnel down into Boca Grande Pass, and flows out of this beautiful estuary where all these crabs are coming. Up on the hill where the old phosphate dock is in an average of 34 to 38 feet of water. As you get into the pass, generally the depth changes a little bit from 38 to 42 to 45 feet. Right off of the old lighthouse, there's a hole called the Coast Guard hole, or the lighthouse hole, and it's probably about a full 60-yard diameter. 50-60 yard diameter, and it's probably at its deepest point. There's one part in there, it's about 81 feet. Then it comes back up into a 48, 50 foot area, slides over to the main ledge, we call the inshore ledge in the pass, and it's from 48, 50 feet down to about 64 to 71 feet. Goes out into the pass at a diameter of probably about 100 yards wide to probably 350, 400 yards long.
The fish congregate in that hole to feed on the bait that comes out of Charlotte Harbor. That would be shrimp and sheeny crabs and blue crabs, mutton minnows, and a variety of foods that they have an abundant source of food.
We think that one of the reasons that tarpon group in Boca Grande Pass like they do in the spring is it's kind of a pre-spawning location. We're pretty sure they go offshore to spawn, 100 miles or so, and Boca Grande Pass makes a great spot for them to gather during spawning season.
So the fish come here to spawn, they get in the hole to rest and to feed as they're recuperating off that long, hard journey, getting ready to spawn offshore in the loop current.
Stacks of fish that I've seen in that pass out there. Boy, it was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable to see that many fish. Man, June, you should see, if you sat in that pass for an hour, you should have seen 10,000 fish roll.
Used to stack up on that recorder any given day, 30, 40, 50 feet. It was amazing.
Solid.
Solid, all the way out to the first camp.
You'd see it on clear days, and you could drop your line down, and you're looking at black, and then all of a sudden you see light, and all you see is the fish, because they're not going to bite. Your line goes down, and the fish just make a circle around it.
Well, in the pass, and again, we're talking about in the confines of Boca Grande Pass, in an area from the phosphate dock out to the first red bellbuoy can, where the holes and ledges are, which is the most concentration of fish usually. A live bait boat, which is normally an inboard boat with above water exhaust, will come through there with 2 lines at a time, usually get ahead of the fish and drift through the fish in an orderly manner and hope for a bite. Present your bait, so to speak, to the fish. Present your bait and hope for a bite. The other boats, the jig fishing boats, will normally ride around until they see a concentration of fish, watching their recorder, And then when one gets on them, they all concentrate and stay on those fish and constantly hammer them instead of coming into an even flow and going through the fish, which is another reason these fish are leaving. Because if they're just sitting there waiting for something to come by, if they don't want to eat, they're not going to eat. If they do want to eat, you're going to catch one, your boat goes on, you go on with the tide, you go on, another one comes through. Instead of constantly staying on top of those fish and hammering those fish day in, day out.
One of the juice to me, I've boated 10,000 tarpon as a guide in 37 years. And the juice to me is the strike and the jump, okay? Well, when they roll on that bait, they see that bait and they roll on it and they hit it. It's like a freight train, rod's going down.
When we're live bait fishing, we're fishing 2 rods at a time, and when you get a hit, if you're not, that rod doubles over, bows over into the rod, you're actually getting a hit. When a jig fishing boat is coming through the group of fish or presenting their lines on the fish, they're dropping these lines straight down, and the bite is different. It's totally different. Whenever that fish hits that line,
You feel that little tap, 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 and you just start reeling.
real, that rod never bows over like an actual bite. It always just a little twibber like that, and then real. So that line is coming up along the side of this fish's face. And if it's not turning into the lower part of the jaw, when that fish moves like that, that line is flipping around, and a lot of times it'll hook him right here on the side of the head.
This is the breakaway jig, okay? And it's simply a weighted hook that the fish can swim into. As he swims into it, it comes up and wraps around the clipper plate and snags it from the outside of the mouth, usually on the side of the clipper plate or the side of the face. One of the things, this is the reason why the breakaway jig is so effective at snagging the tarpon there, because they congregate in very tight packs. This is why the breakaway jig is only used in Boca Grande Pass, because it's easy to snag the fish. I know, I used to fish with jigs, as did many of us. I never caught a fish and weighed it in the tournament that wasn't snagged outside the mouth. This is the only tournament that they are still using the breakaway jig. None of the tournaments in Boca Grande put on by the Chamber of Commerce or the Boca Grande Fishing Guides Association or the Howl at the Moon tournaments or any of the other locals are allowed to use the breakaway jig. We do not gaff tarpon. We do not weigh tarpon. All of our tournaments are all release tarpon. The gaffing of the tarpon is one of the big issues that's killing the fish. I have never seen so many fish floating out that pass.
Another thing is this mortality rate of this style of aggressive style of fishing is higher and higher and higher every year.
This tournament's just caused such a ruckus because it's such an aggressive type of fishing, way over aggressive to a fishery.
It's always been an unwritten rule of ethics and how you handle your boat and how you fish your boat in Boca Grande Pass. And it's never been an issue until the early 90s when this style of fishing became popular. And since it became more and more popular, and what I mean is by the tournaments and how they fish the tournaments and how they present the fish to the weigh scale and lift it out of the water just for a photo. And we're talking 150-pound class fish that can't survive that. And after each one, there are dead tarpon. Every single tournament, there are dead tarpon floating in Boca Grande Pass. And we've got to do something to change this stuff.
I have a copy of a letter that Eva Johnson, who was the docent at the Lighthouse Museum, wrote to me 5 or 6 years ago, saying that she counted 18 dead tarpon on the beach by the lighthouse after one of the tournaments. This is just unequivocal proof that, of the destruction that they are causing.
Handling tarpon and other fish can have a pretty major impact on whether or not they survive. Lifting large fish by the lower jaw and dragging them onto the boat can potentially cause some internal damage. So as with all fish, the best thing to do is to not take them out of the water.
Big females that are getting weighed and are being killed by the method of gaffing the fish after a long fight, you know, with light tackle. It's really been detrimental to the fishery. We're losing all the big breeding females. Most of the fish that are 100 pounds and under are males. The ones that they are killing are the big fish. All the 140, 150, 160, they're all female fish. What has happened, and I can, from an observation of my, especially in the last 10 years, is that they have killed so many of the spawning females, the big females, for these tournaments, that we are not getting the numbers of fish back into the pass.
Tarpon season comes around, tempers flare, everybody's a better captain than the other one, and then as soon as you start talking about the way somebody's fishing, some of these guys know they're doing something wrong. I know a lot of them know they're doing things wrong, and they know it's bad on the fishery, but they're in a competition to beat the next guy to the fish. And so now you got 50 boats racing to these fish and spooking them all out of here, where if everybody was to sit back and hell, have a meeting, say, listen guys, we got to stop this or we're not going to have any more fish.
I understand, you know, the FWC's wanting to, you know, bring commerce and people to Boca Grande to fish and to Florida to fish. But this destruction of the very fishery, the historic fishery that has started sport fishing in America, has to be a consideration. To me, the FWC's mandate is the conservation of the species.
One of the concerns conservation-wise about them is they don't get sexually mature for quite a while, not until they're about 10, maybe 12 years old. And then they can live a long time, at least 60 and possibly even up to 80 years or more. So slow-growing, long-lived species like that are more vulnerable to things like habitat loss and overfishing.
I've been a fishing guide for 37 years, grew up in it, my family's been doing it, my dad was a guide, my grandfather, and one of the things we as guides do is observe the species that we're after. I have a theory that involves the migratory pattern of these tarpon. The large breeding females are who the males follow. I mean, let's face it, it's all about procreation and food. Those are the two things that drive nature. And by killing all of these females in these tournaments, because remember, the females are the big fish. Now, what are those males that follow those breeding females into that hole? Who are they going to follow? There's no hope for this fishery if something isn't done immediately. Let's do something about this fishery. Let's preserve it.
More coverage you get, the better it is, of course, but I think it's going to happen anywhere you go. People are not going to pay attention to the rules. Some of them will, some of them won't, but that's just the general public thing, I think. It's just what's going to happen, but this is going to help right here.